So hi, my name is Jeff Cooper. I work for Samsung in business development, and I focus on pretty heavily on wearables. Particularly, I focus on fitness and health, but I also look more broadly at the B2B category as a whole. And I was going to drill in on a subset of B2B, which is more of a B2B2C, where you add value to the watch, but it ends up in the consumer's hand, and kind of talk about some different verticals, some models and ways to go about that. We're splitting the session in two, and so the second half of the session is with Kavitha. Do you want to?
Yeah, I'm Kavitha. I'm senior software developer from Samsung Developer Program. I'm going to be talking more about technical aspect of developing a Gear application.
So, kind of just a quick overview. We'll talk about what B2B2C is. We'll go over just a little bit of design ideas, just how to treat the watch versus the other. We'll go through the verticals, and then we'll go into the technical. But B2B2C is, at the end of the day, adding a value. It's particularly well suited to fitness, so there is a bit of an emphasis on that, but we will try to go past that. And also, we really want people to ideate, to come up with their own ideas of how could this add value to a consumer, and what are the areas you specialize in, and can you make a use of a wearable in a way that would be value added, that you could provide it to a customer, subsidize it to a customer in ways that are valuable to you and then valuable to them as well. I've got some examples: running, cycling, also possibly senior care. In the senior care model, we'll go into all of these, but in the senior care model, we're not so much on the health side, but think pharmaceutical, get them back active in life again. At the end of the day, it's a consumer, but there's this middle play of using the device as an activity tracker and touch point. The devices we have currently on the market, the high end of the market, we have the S3s. They come in both models that are just Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, and LTE as well. In the middle, we have Sport. It comes out in about 2.5 weeks, 2 weeks. It's a swimmable model. It does not have LTE, but it's otherwise an S3 in a lot of other ways. It's got all the capabilities. Then we have the Fit 2 Pro, which is a lower price fitness band. It's swimmable as well. So the Sport and Pro are the two swimmable models that we have. And then just for completeness, we have Icon X. They're not programmable endpoints. They're just wireless headsets that can hold 4 gigs of music, but you can use them for coached content, communications, and so forth as well. Phone supported, everything after KitKat and everything after iOS 10.x. So we're across the board now. We support all the major phones out there. The two modes are connected, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. You can still go with the device without a phone. It'll just sync up when it gets back in proximity. And then we have the LTE. We release through virtually all the operators in the US. A couple of different ways you could develop. The traditional model is you develop the app yourself. The rich app, you download the Tizen SDK, you develop the app, you work through the UI, you deploy it through the store, and that's great. That gives you a really rich interaction. But we're introducing now a service called GearUP, which is a cloud service. It is something that we're providing that gives an ability to provide detailed data off the watch to the cloud, and then you can make use of the data at the cloud level. It allows an appless environment, but yet you can still communicate with the user. The GearUP platform, and we do have a demo area somewhere up here where they're demoing the capabilities, some of this. It gives minute-by-minute sleep data, which is not normally accessible. It gives heart rate data, enhanced accelerometer, enhanced activity, location. You'll be able to set a geofence, for example, and trigger, let's say if I enter a gym or a swimming facility or some other type of a thing, you can trigger off that. We offer bi-directional communication back to the user. So simple messaging, nothing complicated, nothing super rich, but we do allow a communication path. It lowers the barrier to entry because you don't have to develop as much. Maybe down the road, as you get better engagement with your customers, you may wish to add to it by developing your own app. But this gives you a chance to ease into the market in a way that you don't have to do a whole lot. The architecture, and there's a couple of different angles on this. This is a developer conference. We have a component on the watch which is sending out the data, a periodic basis, 20 minutes by default. It is intended to save the battery so it doesn't drain it. Continuous would drain the battery much more quickly, but it is configurable to whatever your needs would be. The data is pretty raw, so you would have to figure out what to do with the data. We are looking for people to develop plugins for this service. There's two different types of plugins. On the data side, on the watch side, it's real-time data analysis. It could be trigger based off of a certain type of gesture or motion. Could be trigger based off a heart rate pattern. Could be trigger based off a geolocation. Something that provides insights that can interrupt, send out, and reduce data and provide real-time data insights. If you have ideas, if you have areas of specialty, be it around motion, heart rate, sleep, various things, these are some things we're looking for. We have a business model around this. And so if people make use of these plugins, then there's a license model associated with that. We're also looking for plugins on the cloud side, which are larger data sets. So think analyzing a night's sleep, where you have a whole large set of data you need to look at a glance, or let's say a day's motion, stress levels throughout a day. Maybe you want to correlate it with my calendar to see, hey, during these meetings, we noticed you got highly stressed. Maybe you'd like to, consider, some meditation. We're starting to look at that side of things as well. There's different things you can do. We're looking for these type of developers. So I've got some cards up on the table. If anyone has particular areas there where they're interested in having these talks, let us know. As a whole, with or without the plugins, we are looking for these partner solutions who can make use of this GearUP service as is. And when the plugins are done with the different developers, they can opt in or opt out of those, pay one fee, and make use of this out of the box. Moving to the other method, the rich app application development. So this is the traditional model where you develop your own app. Just some thoughts about a watch. It is, it's not a phone. It's out on your watch, your wrist. It's out on the body. It's always present. You may leave your phone at your desk. You may leave it on the coffee table at home. The watch is always with you. So keep it light in terms of the interactions. Having to go do a lot of interaction with it, the user is going to tend to probably not do this for very long. So you want to automate the capture of information, even automate the activation of the app. So if I walk into a gym, by a geofence, I'm there, or by a beacon, I've entered a gym. Activate the app automatically to track my workout, as an example. Then you can sell that watch as a workout tracker to your customers, and it has a value add. But automation and context, the position, who, what, where, when, automate it and can tag the data in a way that the user does not have to interact with the watch. We'll go through some various verticals real quick to just sort of give some ideas. Obviously, watches are ideal for fitness because they measure so many personal activity patterns. So the fact that they can read your heart rate, your motion, your location. I think if you were a running company, if you were cycling, if you swimming, physical fitness, a type of application, that's one area where this would excel at. Wellness is a close cousin. So think an employee, group of employees at a company that you could come up with a wellness solution, gamification, some sort of a way to get a group of employees to be healthier, to interact, to just get up and stand more often, to be active. If you have a solution like that, you can OEM the watches from us, or you can basically acquire the watches from us and get them provisioned and sold into a workplace. We will get back into how you can do that. There's just a couple of others. We're getting into more of the idea generation side of it. We haven't done this so much yet, but think community engagement. I live in Santa Cruz and I'm a runner. I'm an avid runner. I spend a lot of time at the local running store. I would like to connect with other runners in my town. So if you think biking, people who working communities, you've got your Strava community, for instance, the way they connect. If you could work through the bike shop, through different chains of stores, Rip Curl or O'Neill or something like that as just an example, and work with an application that can both track what they're doing, their activities, when they're out on the water, when they're doing these activities. You can track it as an activity in a workout, but then it also becomes their daily device, and they can track other workouts that they do, but it also provides a point of communication. So if you were to sell it, let's say, through a chain like Rip Curl or like O'Neill, for instance, and these are just what-ifing, it becomes a touch point for the store as well. And so if you create a white label solution and then these stores can sell the device, it becomes a way that the store has a communication path right to the person. Email communications don't work that well. People get too much of it. If in a meaningful way that you can say, hey, the waves are great today, why don't you, if you get a chance, get out and check out the surf as an example, then I would say this is a potential area of engagement and a different channel. You take your white label solution to a chain of stores that has sports-minded customers, and then through them you can resell the device. There's other possibilities. This is where we're really kind of counting on developers who have their expertises in various areas to be imaginative. Retail is a potential, being able to tie a device that can collect data in a way that's useful to the end user, providing analytics that can then be used to upsell products at a later point or help hone them in on things that are relevant to them. You could go through a national chain of stores, you could go through malls, you could go through other types of things. This is an area it's kind of a little more nebulous, but we're interested in people's ideas on this and where you might be interested in taking this. A final word on how this is doable on the Tizen 3.0 devices, such as the round watches. The fitness bands are still in the Tizen 2, but on the Tizen 3 we actually have a Knox endpoint, which is our device management platform. On the consumer level, you can use it simply to provision a device, which acts as a preload. So if you sell your solution through a company and the watch is bundled with it, we can do the fulfillment because we have services that will fulfill. We can also provision the watch so that when the consumer then opens the box and pairs the watch with their phone, it knows that that device comes from you and can pre-install the app on the watch up on power up. So it's the same as having it pre-installed. So it effectively customizes the device for you. So that is essentially it for the B2B2C portion. It's in a nutshell, and I know we sped through this pretty quickly. It was a lot to say, but I just wanted to kind of give you kind of a quick overview. My name is Jeff Cooper. Again, I've got a stack of business cards there. So if you want to reach out to me, if you have any questions, ideas, want to refine it, let me know. I'm happy to have a conversation. So.
Thank you, Jeff. So now that you have seen what are the different areas your Gear application can be used by users, let's deep dive into the technical aspect to see what are the most important technical functionalities that you need to know if you want to develop a Gear application. In this session, we are going to focus on 3 functionalities: Gear in-app purchase, Gear authentication, and iOS compatibility. So before going into the technical aspect, I want to give you an overview of wearable market landscape. These are the forecast that has been provided by IDC Wearable Tracker. So it says by 2021, wearables are going to go to around 80 million devices in US. And the US wearable install base, we have seen 60% increase from 2017 to 2018. So this is some information about the wearable usage trend. So more than around 60% of people use the wearable device daily, and 22% of people use 1 to 3 times a week. So the types of applications that are very popular among the users in the wearables are fitness tracking. 92% of the people like using fitness tracking related applications on their Gear devices. And the next one is applications that are related to communication like calls, text, etc. So those are one of the favorite applications used by users as well. News and entertainment are used by 79%, and utility applications like reminders, etc. are used by 71% of people in wearable devices. So, as you know, Samsung has been the pioneer in wearable industry. These are the series of Gear wearable devices that we have released in the previous years. The new one is called the Gear Sport that has been launched at IFA in August and will be coming to market by the end of October. We have also launched a fitness band called the Gear Fit 2 Pro for the wearable device as well. So Gear authentication, as you all know, authentication is one of the important aspects of any app development. We can categorize the Gear wearable devices into two categories broadly. The devices that are available in the market are either LTE enabled, like some of the Gear S3 devices has SIM card in it, so it is LTE enabled and it is always online. And there is another type of device which does not have a LTE, but it can be connected to Bluetooth, connected via Bluetooth to the mobile device. So even the Bluetooth version has a Wi-Fi support. So both the devices will be online most of the time. So you can keep this in mind when you develop the application for a Gear device. So there are two types of apps that you can develop for the watch. It can be either a standalone app or a companion app. Companion app means there are two applications, one running on the Gear and the other one will be running on the Android device, and they can both communicate with each other via the Bluetooth. So they can transfer data from the mobile phone to the Gear device, and you can show the data in the UI of the Gear application. Standalone app means that there is only one app that is running on the Gear. So in those kind of standalone applications, the app has to authenticate the user by itself. It has to handle the authentication by itself. So we are going to see what we recommend to how to authenticate the users in the standalone Gear application. So we recommend to use like Google OAuth. Like Google provides OAuth for limited input devices. Since it's very difficult to enter your login and the password in a watch, because of the display size is too small, we can use Google OAuth or the Facebook OAuth. So in order to use the authentication, you need to install the Samsung extension SDK that is available in developer.samsung.com. This extension SDK provides all the APIs necessary to redirect the URL to the mobile phone that talks to the server. So obviously, if you are going to use Google OAuth, you would need a Google client ID and a Google secret. And if you are going to use Facebook OAuth, you would need a Facebook app ID and client token. And these are the permissions that you need to declare it on the config.xml file of your Gear application in order to implement the authentication. This high level OAuth flow. So you can use Google OAuth or Facebook OAuth, and it will send the user code. You can enter that user code to authenticate the user. That information will be sent to the server, and you will be able to retrieve all the information about the user. So this way you will be able to authenticate the user even though your display size is very small. So moving on to the next topic, Gear in-app purchase. So this is one of the most important SDKs, I think, for any developer. This is the main SDK that you need to make revenue out of your Gear application. So instead of just publishing a paid application, you can use this Gear IAP SDK and start selling some digital items inside your Gear applications. So this is a Galaxy Apps service, and the revenue share is 70-30, but it is negotiable to 80-20 if you become a partner with Samsung, and if you have a very good use case, we are happy to take you as a partner and do the revenue share to 80-20. So these are the steps, and we support different kinds of payment methods like the credit card, PayPal and Samsung Pay. You need to download the SDK and integrate that into your Gear application in order to use the Gear in-app purchase APIs. This is one sample application that is available from developer.samsung.com, which you can download. This shows the user flow just to give you an understanding of how the IAP application will work. So as you can see, there is a buy button. Once the user clicks on the buy button, you can show a list of items that the user can purchase. And once the user selects the item, the user will be redirected to the mobile phone. In the mobile phone, user will be able to select the type of credit card and he will be able to complete the purchase transaction. So obviously there is a dependency on mobile phone to complete the purchase transaction, but we are working on it to come up with a standalone SDK where user can complete the purchase transaction in the Gear device itself. So these are the types of APIs that is available in IAP SDK. So get item list will give you the list of items that that is available for sale by for the users, and start payment starts the actual transaction, and get purchase item list will give you the list of items that the particular user has purchased. And you can test. There are two different modes for IAP. It's a commercial mode is where the actual purchase transaction happens, but if you want to test your application while developing your application, you can use the test mode to see how the actual transaction works instead of charging your credit card. So these are some of the examples of different kinds of digital items that you can sell over the Gear IAP SDK. It can be a consumable item, non-consumable item, subscription items, or auto-recurring subscription items. So the iOS compatibility. So Gear Watch is also compatible with iPhones. So user will be able to pair the Gear S2, Gear S3 or Gear Sport device with their iPhone. So all the basic functionalities like calls and receiving notification, everything is handled by the Gear platform itself. If you want to develop an app that is that you want the user to use it when he is paired with the iPhone, then we would suggest like developing a standalone application. That way your application will work either with an Android phone or with an iPhone, irrespective of the kind of phone that the Gear device is paired with. And we have a API called Remote App Control API. Using this API, you will be able to launch or invoke an application on a remote device. In this case, it will be an iPhone. So you can use this to complete the full user flow. For example, if you have a news application, you can show the news headline on the Gear device, and when the user wants to read more detailed information, he can click on like more info, and you will implement the Remote App Control API, and that will launch your application or the website on the iPhone. That way you can have a smooth transition between your Gear application as well as your iPhone. So that's pretty much it about the IAP, OAuth and the iOS compatibility. So as I said earlier, I am part of Samsung Developer Program team, and there are a lot of benefits if you want to join Samsung Developer Program. Right now we are offering a deal like you can get 15% off for Gear Sport devices, the new device that has been released recently, up to 15% off. So if you join Samsung Developer Program, you will be able to, you can get the discount for 15%. If you have any questions, we have a booth over there. You can walk in over there and ask more questions about it. This offer is only valid from today to 31st of this month. And we have Samsung Galaxy badge generator. You can generate the Galaxy Apps badge, and you can use this badge to promote your application in various social media and other websites. That's pretty much it from my side.